Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to the Thriving Through the Chaos series presented by the Author Incubator. I am Dr. Angela, and I am excited to be joined today by four of our authors who are both chaosing and thriving through the chaos. It's never one or the other, but there are so many good stories out there right now of people who are showing up and making a difference. And our goal with this series is to share with you what's possible when you face your fear and show up anyway with a commitment to making a difference. All four of the authors I'm featuring here today have had an amazing couple of months in their business since the lockdown started and the virus started. And I think so much of that comes from what I call their servant's heart. It doesn't mean everything's easy. You're going to hear they have lots of other stuff going on in their life. They have kids and crises and health issues and family stuff. All that stuff is still happening. But what I think makes this world a better place and why I have so much hope for the world after coronavirus being even better is that when you have a servant's heart, you show up anyway. And these are the people who are really helping people through the crisis. Businesses are changing, jobs are changing, relationships are changing at a faster pace than I know I've ever seen in my lifetime. And what do we need? What does Mr. Rogers say when things are crazy and chaotic? He says, look for the helpers. So these are their helpers in their stories. First of all, I hope that you are inspired to be one of the helpers. And second of all, if any of these people are doing something you need help with right now, I hope you'll take this as a resource for you to reach out to say, like, I can move forward. I can keep helping people. This is not a time to give up, in my opinion. This is a time to get clear. And when you have that clarity and alignment, take action, usually in that order. So I'm excited to introduce you to these folks. I'm going to ask them to tell you a little bit about their business, at least their business pre-coronavirus. And in some cases, those businesses might have changed. But I want to have you give you a sense of who you're going to meet today. And we are going to start with Mia Hewitt. So Mia, say hi to everybody and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Hey there. So great to be here, by the way. I love hanging out with other really cool people. My name is Mia Hewitt, and I wrote the book Meant for More. And basically what I do is I help those that were like myself, that had built some level of success, but still kept feeling like I was constantly secretly struggling. Like I didn't understand how it is that I could have some success and still feel like inadequate, constantly feel like I doubted myself, constantly asking myself, was that right? Did I do that right? Was that wrong? Like just that constant questioning of self. And it drove me crazy. And so in searching over and over again, like for who could help me through this, I found, I've spent about $500,000 on my own coaching. And the ones that I had found, they basically told me, just think differently. And I remember thinking, like, if I could do that, I would just do that by now. Like, it has to be something different than that. So long story short, I uncovered an exact methodology of where this is emotionally, and that when we free our emotional side of ourselves, we actually allow our intellect. So I always say to people, we can't think greater than how we feel. And so that's really what I'm an expert in.
Super powerful. How long have you been doing this?
I've been an entrepreneur 31 years, but I've been doing this particular work for the last 9.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Well, I'm going to see in a minute how things have been different in the last couple months. But first, I want people to meet Vivian de Guzman. So Vivian, give people a sense of you and where you are and what you do.
Hi, everyone. My name is Vivian de Guzman. I am a human MRI, and my clients call me the #1 money magnet activator, because somehow I realize that here I am, I know how to scan the body in 5D. In other words, I can see the insides of their anatomy and physiology. But then a lot of these business owners I am treating, they do have some money blocks. And it doesn't matter how much up leveling, it doesn't matter if they're making no money, 100,000, 500,000, even if they're millionaires, they still have money blocks. And I'm like, why do they have money blocks? But because I can see the energy of it, I can see the stories, even if they don't tell me what it is. It's just, it looks like a movie. So I'm very, very much entertained when I am reading someone. Because when I look at their chakras and their energetic boundaries, or what we call aura, I just see all the pictures. And those are interferences to get them to this successful level. Because like Mia was saying, even if you got this certain level of success, but there's something inside of you that's still in conflict, right, with your higher guidance, with your higher self, then it doesn't feel aligned. So I basically align their soul, heart, mind, and body. So it's vertical, right? It's connected to God. They're in their body and they're connected to Mother Earth. So then their business is also aligned and in purpose, because I realize that our soul purpose will find us when we're ready. And I remember Dr. Angela, when she found me, I was all over the place, because I'm like, but wait, I know this side and this, and physical, emotional, mental, psychological, psychic, spiritual. And you're asking me to write one book? I remember that. and I said, it's kind of tough to do that. However, I understood what that we portal meant. It's like, oh, people will find you because they're having some money issues. And it doesn't mean that they don't have health issues or relationship issues. But once they realize that that's, let's say, their main problem, they think, then I can declutter the rest of their field, right? The rest of their energy field and body, and then they'll be healthy anyway, and they'll have good relationships, and they'll be happy with their money. So they won't lose the money.
Human MRI. I love it. Okay. Next up is Emily Hirsch. So Emily, tell people about you.
Cool. I am CEO of Hirsch Marketing. So we help people with marketing. Specifically, we work with a lot of authors, people who they're here to not just sell something, but make an impact. So lots of influencers and people who are selling digital products, digital courses, coaches. And we do specialize in Facebook ads and Instagram ads. And so I have a team that's all virtual, and I've been doing this for 5 years. I recently wrote the book called Ignite Your Impact. And so that's around marketing and getting your impact out there, which also results in making more money in your business and sales, but is centered around that people who have bigger things to do and want to have that audience and that influence on who their audience is.
And actually, Hirsch Marketing does our Facebook ads and our marketing at the Author Incubator. So we love what you guys do. And I know you work with a lot of authors, but we're going to talk about some interesting twists and turns your business has taken in the last couple months in exciting ways. So, but first and finally, I'm going to introduce people to Laura Slynn. Laura is part of Avalon Empowerment. Thanks for representing the team over there today. And I just want to give people a sense of who you are and what you guys do over there.
Well, thanks so much, Angela. So so our company is Avalon Empowerment. I run that together in partnership with two partners, Ernie Pavan and Kelly Osmond, who are both awesome. And the three of us just wrote our book. I guess we just completed and published our book, Evolved NLP, the Impact-Driven Coach's Guide to Amplified Revenue and Results. So we help impact-driven coaches and entrepreneurs work with the tools of neuro-linguistic programming, some other multidimensional quantum change modalities to work with their unconscious mind, clear blocks, use that as a coaching process to certify to launch a coaching business formally, or just to use it in leadership in their own businesses.
Thanks. Well, amazing to have all of you guys here. Thanks again for being here. The next thing I want to talk about with you all is what happened around mid-March when it became clear that we were moving from a weird virus in China to a global pandemic and moving into some lockdown something. Who knows what's happening? I think there are a couple of typical responses, but there was a whole pantheon. For some people, they freaked out, stopped taking action. For some people, they kept doing what they were doing before and just said, I hope nothing changes and I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. Some people changed everything. I heard a lot about pivots. All of a sudden you used to, make, I don't know, gin, and now you're making hand sanitizer. So some people completely jumped industries. And for some people, they just made a tweak or two. So I'd love to hear from each of you guys. Obviously, you are models of what thriving through the chaos can look like. And I think a lot of that starts with, when this is going on, how did you as a CEO process this? What did you do? And what sorts of changes did you make? How big, how small? Let's start this time. I'll go in reverse order. Let's start with you, Laura, since we were just talking to you. Mid-March, shit goes down. What do you guys think? What did you do? What changes did you make?
So I was in Mexico.
Yeah, you took your parents on vacation.
I took my
You're
parents
like,
on vacation.
down, we have vacation plans.
I was in Mexico. I'm like getting text messages from Kelly and Ernie. They're like, FYI, pandemic, no toilet paper. Need to talk as soon as you land. I'm like, okay. And I had really been like, my blinders are on. I'm on vacation. Don't talk to me about whatever is going on in the news. So, So came home though. And I have to say, for us, it was like minor shifts because we had spent like up until the end of November last year, our entire business was live in-person trainings, like multi-days, 7 days, 14 days at the master practitioner level. We had launched sort of one course as a beta to look at a hybrid model at the end of the year, and it went really well. But that's why we wrote our book with you, because we wanted to transition to more of a hybrid. So we had a 3-day live in person planned for the last 2 days of April, 1st day of May. So that was just a couple of weeks ago. And that was the only thing we had to shift because we had to do that live Zoom, which worked great. We just had to
Did you have, so I've heard people kept going and did live events. I've heard people thought about canceling, postponing. What did you think about not doing the event?
I think for the first couple of weeks, we were like, well, let's see if this is real. Like, what's going on? Like, I think that first week, a lot of people were like, this isn't like, okay, we're gonna, because I'm trying to think. I came home and I think it was a few days later that the social isolation, like I was on a 2-week isolation post travel anyway, but I think that's when it was just called that everybody was to isolate and only essential businesses were opened. And then it was like, oh, okay, so this is real. So for us, it was just calls to hotels. We had a year of trainings planned and seeing what their cancellation policies were like. There was no way we weren't going to complete it. Like there was no thought of let's not run this event. We have people who were registered, who were prepping for it. But definitely like a lot of talk about how are we going to replicate it? Is it going to be as good? I know for me, like I have a toddler and an 8-year-old. My 8-year-old will happily sit on like Roblox or Xbox or whatever he does all day, but the toddler doesn't want me to spend a full day in front of a computer. What's that going to mean for our participants? So a lot of those questions.
Yeah, and I know for you guys, you do super deep work, and just asking the question of, can we deliver at the same quality doing it virtually? I know because we had that conversation, the four of us had that conversation of like, how do we make sure this is good and our clients get what we promised and what we sold? So
yeah, and so we converted that live event. We also added an additional weekly coaching call that was specific to the personal transformation, because we had like this new group who were going through the new program, and then we also had our current graduate group who like everybody was kind of erupting, the COVID, I think of it like a vice on like our lives was like squeezing everybody. So there was a lot of, I'm sure similar to what you've experienced in the author incubator groups, like a lot of intense coaching and calming amygdala. And
yeah, for me, one of the things that was, and I watched you do this with your people too, but one of the things that was really clear just to me internally was like, give your current clients more support. I didn't know, because I have a lot of live events like you do. I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do about these live events. And I was really nervous about that. But I kind of put all those nerves on the back shelf a little bit and said, all right, but right now my clients need that support, that extra support, and sort of went to that. So I know, Emily, you took super fast, immediate action, and it had a huge impact. So what happened with you guys? Lockdown happens, Facebook ads, some of it advertising live events, like my events and Laura's events. So what did you guys do? And what was your mindset around it?
Yeah. So as soon as it got real, I took massive action because I knew like that's the one thing I could control. I was like, who knows like what's going to happen? What's going to happen to my business? Like, we have 50 plus clients who are all marketing. So I have an interesting perspective because I have a lot of businesses that were in charge of their success. And obviously if something happens, they're not going to keep paying for advertising. So I just was thinking through like, first, kind of like you, Angela, what does our clients need? Like I can deal with like my business growth and making sure that happens later, but how do I keep our clients and keep them calm and make sure they're still served? So within like 2 days, I told my team, I was trying to just put myself in their position, but also everybody's position. What do we need to do? And I think the biggest thing was you can't just like business as usual. Like when you're scrolling Facebook and you'd see like an ad that was just like the same thing that was there 2 months ago, you're like, this is weird. Like it just felt off. And so I knew that we needed updated messaging for all of our clients. And so that was like first, 2 to 3 days after that, we were getting all new copy and creative, at least to acknowledge what's happening for them, how it was relevant for them, not trying to like take advantage of it, but to be like, are you stuck at home or is this happening? And just shift we had to pivot like 50 businesses, at least a little bit in the messaging. So it was talking to each one about not just pivoting, but also opportunity. So like we have, some clients who are in the digital education space. And it's like, okay, now we have to talk to parents instead of just preschool teachers, or in the health and fitness space with an online membership. Okay, now we have to, change the messaging there and create opportunity. But we had clients too, where you would think they would want to quit or wouldn't be able to get, like one is targeting, people who go like food manufacturers who get their food inside of grocery stores, which is like obviously going to be all messed up. But we just pivoted our messaging to be about like how to prepare right now so that when they open up and you'll be able to take advantage of that opportunity. And so she's had great success through that. So the first thing I did was change all the messaging for our clients and had my team, like we had a whole team meeting about we're going to do like an audit and find opportunity in every one of these client accounts. And then for my clients, I personally sent out a message and was like, hey, we're acknowledging what's happening. Like I knew that I had to step up before they even got to the panic level, like of acknowledgement. And, I acknowledge what's happening. We're watching it. We're watching a close eye on your ads. And then one of my huge philosophies is like, pay attention to the numbers. And so I told them like, remember, the foundation of marketing still works, and we're going to continue to just looking at your numbers and make decisions off of your numbers. And so bringing them back to that instead of the emotional, like, oh my gosh, what should I do? I've never dealt with this before kind of feeling. And, we still have results that we're tracking. And if something happens to those results, then we make decisions. But if it's working, it's working. And so bringing them back to that, I also then, so I took care of our clients. And then from an audience perspective, I did a daily podcast series for a week just to talk to, a lot of people started turning to me and sending me messages like, what are you seeing with Facebook ads? What should I do? Like, is cost going up? Is cost going down? In the beginning, nobody knew. And so I knew with everybody turning to me that there was opportunity for me to serve and give the audience what we're seeing, because we manage millions of dollars of ad spend on the back end. So we have that intel that people wanted. So I did a daily podcast episode that was talking about like how to market during this time, what we're seeing, what you should do, basically sharing everything we're doing with our clients. And then for 6 weeks, we released a weekly Hirsch marketing report. Normally we do it monthly, but we changed it to weekly so we could update people every single week on ad costs, sales conversions. We gave examples of ads and like let them follow a journey of people that were seeing results. And so we normally do that monthly, but we changed it to weekly for 6 weeks. And so with all that action, it worked really well. We just came off of 100% retention with our clients. So, and I really believe that was because we had massive urgency in taking action before they got to like the panic level.
Yeah, I had almost the opposite experience, and I have contrasting experiences. So my financial advisor, who's also one of our authors, Mary Stirk, as soon as it hit, she called me and she's like, I want to talk about your portfolio and your plan. This would be a really logical time for you to stop contributing. Here's why you should. Here are the changes I'm making. everything's on sale right now. Like, keep doing what you're doing. And she completely prepped me with my Facebook ads team that I'd been working with forever. I freaked out. I was like, we sell live events. All of our ads are about live events. Come to our live event, buy our live event. I'm like, we have to pause all of our advertising immediately, change our products, rewrite our ads, and then we'll go live again. And my Facebook people that I'd been working with forever were like, okay, cool. Let us know when you're ready. And then I heard what Emily was doing with her clients, and I'll be like, oh, and when I'm ready, I'm going to Hirsch Marketing. Because it was such a different experience when I looked at Mary was on the phone with me day one with my Facebook ads people. I'm like, I can't keep spending $100,000 a month and not convert people. And
Yeah.
I don't even know if I was or wasn't converting people. I just knew I had ads for live events. So I was like, stop immediately. So it's so interesting to see how different people react, and just your thought inside your head, which was my clients need help, so different than our other Facebook ads people. They're like, yeah, makes sense. She sells live events. We should turn off her ad spend so she's not wasting money. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think they were ill-intended, but
It was the lack of urgency, because it was so important that it happened like yesterday when everything started happening. And so I naturally have a high, urgency, and I had to push that on my team and set those expectations for sure. But then once I did, they were actually super excited, because I think as a team, like, you also don't know what's going to happen in your job. And so to see the momentum we got from that, luckily ad costs actually got cheaper. So there was a lot of opportunity out there for our clients. But, we had clients with live events too, and had to get up a course and change the entire funnel. And like, you had to move fast. You couldn't wait for weeks to make a change.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Mia, give me the lowdown from your perspective. What happened to you guys in those first couple?
Sure. I think this is where that advantage of being an entrepreneur for 31 years comes into play. Because, I've been through so many market changes that when I saw it, once it hit the UK, before, like, it just trickled into Boston here. I'm in Boston right now. I immediately I have some online, I have a lot of my businesses online, like my entrepreneurs are online, but the ones that are brick and mortars, I do brick and mortar as well. I went right to them and doubled down on how to get them online very quickly. So the cool thing about that is they were able to get ahead of it all. So it really, not only did it not impact them, but they're doing incredible. So that I'm really grateful for. The one thing that for me, because I've been in business for so long, the thing that I most know about is nothing ever goes back the same. Like, anytime, like when the housing money goes down, it never turns around on a dime. And so one of the things about understanding that is how to quickly, for those people who needed to retool, repurpose, retool, how to do that. But then a lot of it was just minor shifts that people need to do. Very much like what Emily said, I had to go change, for me personally, I had to change copy. The copy needed to really reflect what's going on. So once I made that shift, and we do live events as well, but our live events now became virtual, right? But those were minor shifts. I feel for most, the most important thing is, in such a time of uncertainty, people are looking for certainty. Yeah. And really helping ground people to really help them understand business is a long game, right? The game of business is never about the way I look at it. And the more you master business and the living of life, the less you fear. And so it's kind of like, okay, this is the game now. I know this may feel completely, counterintuitive to some people, but I actually love it. It's, to me, I bet on boring, right? I've made a lot of money on being boring. And so when things change in the environment, not that I'm saying I wish the bad things happening to people, not at all. But when things change, it's exciting in the sense of like, ooh, this is a Super Bowl. It's go time, right? Like, how are we shining through this challenge? What are we doing to overcome this? How are we helping people change the way they're seeing it? How are they, seeing where their money is and making more money? I had a client within 2 months. She started working with me during this, like right before it. And within 2 months, she sold her first $1.2 million contract. She had never sold that. before. I have another guy who does metals, and after a couple of days of working with me, he just implemented and he created 250,000 in when the metals
during the pandemic.
Yes. So it's really, to me, here's the danger, and I just really love to say, is that once the mind decides there's a problem, it will go to work to protect it. I know you all know this because that's why you're here as well, but most people don't understand that. And so really understanding the way the mind works is so important, because I learned a long time ago by some really cool billionaires that I got to hang out with and do business with. There's people making money in any market. Do you want to be one of them, Mia? And it really, when someone asks you that question, and you see it from a different perspective, you really start to see this is the game. And it's really about the business of entrepreneurship is really more about being adaptable. I'm like the coyote. You just can't kill me. It's like it's the only animal that literally will change its entire environment and its foods and everything. That's why they'll be found in New York City, is because it is the only animal that will do that. All other animals will perish, but not the coyote. So I always say, I'm like the ultimate survivor. I'm like the coyote.
And did you feel that way when it happened? Did you have a moment where you're like, oh shit, this is the end? Or from the beginning where you're like, all right, here we go?
Yeah, no, I didn't have a panic. It was more of, I think for me personally, it wasn't a business thing. So for me, I really get business like the back of my hand. So that I don't have anything that stops me there. But where it challenged me personally was I had never thought of, I've always been healthy. I've never really had any issues with health or my body of any kind. So it was the first time I had to go, oh, wait a minute, there's something else. I had to reshift the way I thought about my health. So that was a new thing for me, because I had never even dealt with health issues. So that was a personal thing. I had to break free of thinking, because to me, it was more about, my daughter's going into med school now, and I have a sister who, is, worked in infectious disease. So I have a lot of medical people in my family. And the thing that I was present to is the sheer numbers. It didn't, if you just look at the numbers, where I was more concerned about was not my business, was more about how would the hospitals be able to manage so many people when you just look at the sheer numbers of it. So we sequestered before they ever made it mandatory. And as you can tell, New Zealand did a freaking bang up job. That woman did, right?
I know. I'm going to invite Jacinda to one of the Thriving Through the Chaos events like this. I'm pretty sure we're meant to be best friends. She can be friends with all of us.
So awesome. Yeah.
So one of the things for me is just the knowledge money wants to move. Money always wants to move, and it's going to move in a down market, in an up market. Where it moves changes.
Yep.
And I had a, feeling almost like a car crash or something at first, where I was like, okay, money's going to move, but where? I felt like I couldn't see it. I had tunnel vision or something, when you're in that state of shock. I was like, okay, what happens now? I don't know the plot. So I think having a coach, having somebody there who, especially somebody who's been through some things, to be like, okay, it's going to move somewhere. This is what we do now.
And it always moves down deeper. So meaning it's like a return to problem solving and value creation, right? It goes deeper. It's not in the symptoms. So any business that was solving problems at symptom level, that's the one that's going to be hurting. So you've got to go deeper down into how can you provide even more value? Just going deeper into that critical thinking, and then really being able to see where the added value really is. That's really where the gold is. Money will always follow that.
Good advice. All right.
Yeah.
Vivian, let's talk about you. And I want to know what was happening for you personally through the last 6 to 8 weeks. And then also, were you seeing different things with your human MRI detector? What was changing inside of people's physiology?
So I came back from Egypt after you, I think. So
we
it
were
was
both
about
in
March
Egypt
13th.
in the middle of this.
I went to Egypt for a women's economic forum, and then we went to Dubai. So I experienced, how difficult the life is there for most people. And then while I was in the airplane going back, I was feeling already this fear and panic from everybody because I'm clairvoyant. Obviously, I can see, and I'm claircognizant because I know, but I'm also clairsentient. So I feel everything, right? I feel the whole world, whatever was happening. And it looks like there's World War III up in the ethers. That's how it looks like to me, spiritually, literally. Okay, so then of course I was feeling this weird chaos, conflict, stress, anxiety inside. And of course my kids were like, Mom, don't, it's a 6 feet social distancing, don't go near us because you just came from a foreign country. I'm like, I'm pretty healthy. I've never been sick. So anyway, some of my kids, I have 4 kids, right? So we were quarantined already, locked down. So went through LA and like, whoo, made it through the nick of time there. And then I was like, what's happening? What's happening? Why am I feeling like this? Well, my first thing is usually take action. I was like, I think if I'm feeling like this, I need to ground myself, align myself again. And then I started looking at my clients energetically to see how they are. Well, they're also panicking. So then I launched my free course on pandemic group clearing, March 18. I was like, come on, you guys, let's treat some people. Let's see what we can do to help release a lot of these emotional triggers. Because what I saw is whatever behavior patterns that people have and their emotional triggers just got magnified times 100 times. Like that's what I saw in my clients. And then of course I doubled down on calling each one of them, making sure they're okay. Are you guys good? And then I started launching programs. Basically, it's called Pandemic Group Clearing. So I shifted. Instead of doing my 90-day success, I was still fulfilling that, right? My front end, my February cohort was going to graduate in April, but I'm in the middle of everything. And then I'm like, am I supposed to sell that? That's why I am so grateful that I met you, Angela, last year, because 80% of my business is already online and I'm already doing group clearing, right? Because there was one that was canceled, my tailbone class, because that was a hands-on healing class. Part of it is I just don't want to be arrested saying, why are you doing this? But I was really not afraid of the virus because I'm a medical professional, right? I'm a physical therapist. There's no such thing as a virus jumping from one skin to the person's skin 6 feet. There's no logical explanation for a particular behavior of a virus to do that. So I was laughing at the news and at the same time, I'm like, you know what? You guys do that, I'll do this. So I was just like 3 times a week clearing clients. Okay, bring as many people as you can. We did some Facebook ads for the first time. So finally, I implemented that. We did $115 ad spend for the month. We had 22,000 clicks just from that advertisement. So it was like 35
cents. That's $100 well spent.
I know. I was like, wow, if I actually made that times 100, would that convert to something bigger, right? If the formula is correct. So yeah, changing with the marketing piece instead of, cheering people on to make more money, I kind of went into my medical side. I had to go into my medical intuitive side. Although this is interesting because when I did my March up-level event, I still did it, but online, I had enrolled 6 more people for my next front end in April. So it was good. So the people that were in complacency, because I think that's how we got here anyway, except the whole country got hit with a whole 4x4 and say, wake up, you guys, whatever you're doing is not working, do something else. So I think that's what happened. And finally, those people that are willing to change, that's the ones who enrolled in my next group, in the 90-day success group.
That's awesome. I want to talk about, and this is a little bit of a soundbite, but I also think it's helpful for people to hear just in a sentence or so from each of you, looking back at the last 5 weeks. Would you say the last, 6 weeks of business have been business as usual, about flat? Would you say it's been up, like some of your best times ever the last 6 weeks? Or would you say it's down, like up, down, flat? How would you rank your business? I'll start with you, Vivian.
Really up. I think it's tripled for me actually during the pandemic. And that client of mine that I got from broke to 120K in 90 days, she actually crossed her 7-figure mark within the pandemic. She pivoted though. She changed businesses to a hand sanitizer.
Nice.
So,
Smart.
Yep.
All right, Mia, what would you say? Down, flat, or up for the last 6 weeks, your business? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, we definitely are. We're definitely up. I built a business without Facebook ads that did about 432,000, and then this year we're projected over 1 million. So it totally is up, really great. Usually the marketing we do is to try to help people like get out of that, what they don't want to feel. And so now the environment did it for us. So I find that we sold over 3,000 since January 1. I've sold over 3,000 books just on the online funnel. And then what people are doing now, they're bypassing the reading of the book, and I get more people showing up in my calendar to talk to. So they're just going straight like, help me, right?
Yeah.
Is what I'm getting. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's the accelerator.
Yeah.
All right. Laura, flat, down, or up?
Definitely up. April, we just closed April. It's the best month we've ever had.
Love it. How about you
And
guys, Emily?
We're up too. We had 100% retention rate, which is huge. Like that I'm most proud of in the past month. And then we added 10 new clients too at the same time.
Love it. I'm super excited for all of you. What I love this as an example, I mean, everyone's business is up, best month ever, tripled my business, got a client to 7 figures. When I hear that, it's just such a reminder that when you put your clients first, when you put your commitments first, and when you can calm down your own nervous system, which is a skill. And I want to talk about this a little bit, but when you have the tools I know that each of you have and have worked hard to acquire, you can show up in ways that when you're panicking, you just can't. Not because you're a bad person or you don't want to, but panic is just not awesome for productivity. So I did a class on putting your purpose over your panic, but I'd love to hear how that showed up for you. Were there moments, whoever feels inspired to speak, just unmute yourself and I'll see. But were there moments where you felt like scared or triggered or something happened with your kids or something happened with your health or your business where you could have gone down the panic rabbit hole and you showed up instead? Emily, what you got?
Yeah, well, so I think for me, I had a 3-week-old baby going into all of this. So that's been the hardest part for me because he's now like 2.5 months old. But this was not how I planned having a new baby. I was supposed to have my nanny and my house manager and my mom. My parents haven't even met him yet. Like that was the hardest part for me because I need having a newborn, if you've had kids, is like throw all the structure out the window, then add a pandemic. And it's also like throw all the structure. So there was a lot of moments
you have
where
an older kid too.
Yeah, I have. So they just turned 3 and 5. So I have a 3 and 5-year-old and then brand new baby and no house help. When I've lived the last, 3 or 4 years with a lot of help, that's how I do it. I brag about that to people. You got to get help. You can't do both things. So it was not only run your business and make sure it's stable and that your clients are okay and everything, but also now figure out how to help with cleaning and nursing and all this stuff. So I definitely had days where I was mad. I was just mad that my mom hadn't met him yet and mad that we were in this situation. And for me, I had to bring myself back to structure. I'm a very structured person. I need routine. And it's already hard enough for me with a newborn who is not on my schedule. It is on their own time. So I created as much structure as I could. I created, a general, routine for us, for my kids, got them projects and sensory bins and had routine. For myself, I'm going to go for a walk every day. I don't care, what happens. That's my non-negotiable. And so that's what I've come back to is whatever I can hold on to of structure for myself. But I had more on the personal side of I've never I always have help since my kids were born. And then to have now 3 kids and a baby and all of this happening I'm like, this was not how I planned it. But there's been a lot of positives that have come out of it by going through it, like more time with the kids and enjoying the baby without any help is fine. You know, I wasn't ever going to have help with him because he's so young and I'm nursing him, but my other kids, like that's the
Hopefully you
part.
put your 5-year-old to work. I mean, in some countries, this is like full-time job age. So get with it.
Yeah, right.
How about you, Laura? What comes up for you when you think about managing the panic, and what tools have you relied on? Because you're kind of a tool queen.
Yeah, and congratulations, Emily, on the baby, by the way. Yeah, for me, I didn't get like really sucked into necessarily the panic of the pandemic. Although at some points I did, right? Like I'm similar to Vivian, at least in like a highly sensitive capacity, was like just feeling a lot. And then, but it's the kid thing, like not having my nanny here full time. I work in my home. We have a nanny who's been with us for 7 years, and having her just not be able to be here and my parents calling saying, wish we could help, but not being able to has been, yeah, I think that's been the hardest thing, because
I think
also
the other thing that I saw you guys worry about is like, we sell high ticket. I mean, everybody here sells high ticket things, and you're like, should we not be selling anything right now? Should we not be selling anything expensive right now? And also you have to make that decision, not just you, but with 2 other people. So that's a pretty big challenge. I mean, you guys could have decided not to sell anything.
Yeah, and layering onto it that it was all new. Like, we've been doing this work. Ernie's been training these tools since 2011, I guess. I joined him 2015 formally. So we've been doing this stuff for a long time, but not in this format. So we were trying to give birth to this like new program. We're still recording video and planning for a live event that we now have to replan. And then we're going, do we sell it? Do we sell like a high ticket piece? And we weren't sure. And I think, well, we had lots of conversations, but at the end of the day, it was like, wait a minute, like we believe in universal law. We teach universal law. Like the universal law doesn't become untrue because there's a pandemic. Like it's still like, that's why it's law. So let's just like calm down, take a step back, remember what we teach, continue to show up. And we just, we made some little adjustments, but ultimately we moved full steam ahead. But there was like a conscious effort every single day to wake up and check our own projections. Right. And
Mia, did you find it was true for you too, that you had to reevaluate or lean upon some of your tools and structures in ways you haven't had to for a while?
Not for me personally, really, not when it comes to business, because business to me is, I just get it. But inside of like helping people, here's where I would say is that what stops people is not what they are saying. It's what they feel that they're not saying. And so nothing can really change until what is being unsaid is spoken. And so really for me, in the work that I'm doing, because I heal those original traumas that happened, and like, I'm just going to, it'll make more sense. Like the guy yesterday who just hired me, right, out of the UK, it's like he's 51 years old. He was doing 5.5 million pounds before this happened. His business is now barely making 50, right? 50,000. But the problem isn't the pandemic. See, we would like to believe it's the pandemic. But what happened to him is when I dug deeper into in the discovery call, like what's really going on, he read my book, so he understood where I come from. So when I took him back to find out where the link of where this pattern started from, because he's not being seen, he doesn't ask for referrals, he doesn't do marketing, he's not like a people pleaser. When we go back, when he was about 7 years old, he told me, he didn't know that this was the link, but this is the link. It's like at 7 years old, he used to be part of like the cool kids. And then this new kid came to school and he felt completely alienated. And they stopped, making him part of the group. He felt unwanted, imperfect. And from that day forward, he's been wearing a mask. And so he didn't want to be seen. He was afraid to be seen. So he's always trying to look perfect. And his wanting to look perfect, costing him a freaking fortune, right? And this is about like when you really see that, it's like you can't afford not to deal with this. And I really believe that this pandemic, although I don't wish any of the what has happened to people, the pandemic has forced people to really look at what they're not saying and how they're feeling and begin to really unravel, like, what is this? And why do I always react this way? Right? I know you know this, Angela, but all business failures can be linked to making ineffective decisions, right? And the reason why they're reacting and making, bad decisions, poor decisions, it's all gonna come from whatever the trauma they have that they've never healed, it will show up everywhere in their life. And so it's just, yeah, right? I mean,
that's deep. That's super deep. So I just want to wrap this up with some advice from all of you. And before we go into that, I want to say this. If you had a great month, or if the last 6 or 8 weeks in your business have been the best ever, like these guys, this is awesome. We want to celebrate with you, share your stories and inspire us. If you are like the example Mia just gave where your revenue is down 90%, and the last 6 months have been, or 6 weeks have been a disaster for you, I want you to know, from my perspective, no judgment, huge opportunity, and the best time ever to learn this lesson. So I've had a couple clients come to me and say, hey, we might need to file for bankruptcy. And I'm like, if you were ever going to do it, great time for this to be now. Like, you'll be forgiven for everything. If you're going to take a 90% dip in your business during a pandemic when there's a ton of government loans and support in the UK and Canada and the US, great time to take a 90% hit. These lessons that we're learning, whether it's in your personal life, with your body, with your business, wherever they're showing up, I think there's such a gift of accelerated learning. I know for me in my business, we are going through the biggest change in being around for almost 10 years. It's all stuff we had planned to happen slowly over the next 4 or 5 years. And I'm like, holy shit, we can make this all happen right now in the next 5 months. So there's a huge opportunity. If you're freaking out and you feel like all these people that are saying best month ever can go screw themselves, like this is hard, you can choose that, or you can choose what's the weird opportunity I can't see, and how can I work with somebody like Mia or Vivian or Laura? How can I see it, get clear on what the opportunity is, and then go hire someone to scale like Emily to help you take advantage of that. So if that is hand sanitizer, like Vivian's business, spending money on advertising or whatever your marketing campaign is in a year on your hand sanitizer business is not going to be nearly as effective as doing it now. So the faster you can get clear, the faster you can scale. And that starts, I think, with forgiving yourself. If you feel like, how come they're successful and I'm not? Like, no shame. This is the perfect time to embrace what's happening. Find that little, it's probably easier than you think, that little shift. So please don't take this advice at all as preachy. Instead, I want you to take it as, hey, there might be an opportunity here. Even if this was a great 6 weeks for you, there may be another opportunity here I want you to see. So I'm going to ask you all 2 questions as our final goodbye questions in this episode. One is, what is one piece of advice that you would want everyone watching to have, people who want to know, what does it take to thrive through the chaos? What's your best piece of advice? And 2, do you have a gift? Maybe it's your book. I know everyone wants to read Mia's book right now. So do you have a gift, something you can give away, something that you think would help people in this time? So Vivian, I'm going to start with you. What's your advice, and do you have a little something for everyone?
Sure. I would say it's really to surrender And that's the hardest part for us humans, right? Because we all went through the grief and the trauma again, and all of those were awakened. We got awakened, we were discovering, but now we really have to surrender to get to the flow. Because that's really, people are trying to like put together the world that they had before, but what you're gonna get, like when a vase is broken, you can't put it together, right? You can't glue it back together. So why don't you release everything in the past and then create the life you truly desire now? Like this is the best time, really, to get to the flow. And if they do want to connect with me, my free book that's coming up in June in Amazon, Money Blocks, 8 Steps to Get to 6 Figures in 90 Days or Less in Any Economy. It would be on overwhelm911.com. And it comes with a free clarity call with me and the book that would be your solution to your money blocks.
I love it. Overwhelm911.com. Be careful. People might be dialing that. Everyone needs that hotline.
For emergencies, money, health, relationship. Hello, bring it on. It's okay.
I love it. You're amazing, Vivian. Well, thank you. Also, I want to share the pandemic clearings. Are you still doing them, the pandemic group clearings? Because I know a lot of people.
So it's actually in a digital format. Yeah, definitely. They can go to viviandeguzman.com/programs. And they can look for my pandemic programs to really help them release their emotional, mental, spiritual, psychic, physical issues that they have. It's pretty cool.
I know a lot of people have taken advantage of those and they've been super powerful. So grateful for your work.
Thank you.
Emily, my love, what is your advice? What's your advice?
Yeah, I'm really similar on what you said, Angela. Like everything you said is my advice. But, what I did was take action. And so my advice is take action in whatever way that looks like for you. There is a ton of opportunity right now, and you kind of have two choices. You can like sit there and wait for it to pass and wait for even like assistance to get to you or whatever to happen. Or you can be like, I'm going to take charge. And the only thing I can control is the action I take and the decisions I make and what I do and how I respond to this. And there is so much opportunity if you're willing to be that person. And I think in a year, 2 years from now, like those will be the entrepreneurs still here are the ones who chose to do that right now versus sit around and wait. And so take action however that looks like for you and your business. Like that could be a huge pivot or a small pivot.
Right. I feel like it's like, those stories about the Old West, the manifest destiny, and people would like ride a horse and then plant a flag in a new territory that hadn't been developed. There's all this new territory. Yep. It's like fresh earth was just laid.
Yeah.
And now if you can figure out a way to take action now, you can own that land. Otherwise, someone's going to plant their flag there and that's cool. You can be a number 2 or number 3. Yeah. But if you want to be a number 1, you got to kind of get your shit together.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. As far as a free gift, I mean, I will link in my podcast, give you guys that link. Cause I think if you want to go listen to that week series that I did, it's really good still and really relevant, but also I'll give the link to the Hirsch marketing report. You could go back to those 6 weeks we did. And it's something that we do monthly. So like moving forward, what does the marketing look like if you're looking at either scaling or adding in Facebook ads? Like what do you have to pay attention to right now? Because it changes so much, especially right now, it's changing a lot.
I love that. Super helpful. Thank you. Having your pulse on, 50 different accounts is such a cool perch that you get to sit in and see what's happening. So the fact that you share that, so give other people a little bit of that vantage point, super generous. So thanks, Emily.
Yeah.
All right, Laura, what is your advice?
So I think, again, similar to what you said, Angela, and just to take it to like brain science, like neurologically and biologically, the timing will not be right to do something in your life that's going to be transformational or move the needle in your life. Like it's not even possible. We're wired in the old part of the brain, we're wired to loop in what we've always done, not do something different. So something will always come up. It doesn't have to be a pandemic. When we decided to write the book in November, I guess we wrote, it wasn't good timing. The timing wasn't right. There's always something. Um, so
And
just
God knows when
acknowledging
you
that
wrote your
whatever
first
this,
book
like,
with me, the timing wasn't right. When you wrote your first
not at
book,
all.
all of a sudden somebody went and tried to die on you.
Mhm. Yeah.
So there's always a thing. So how do you, I mean, as part of neurolinguistic programming, like reprogramming or like training your brain to get used to it? How do you explain that? Because your brain will always try and bring you back to what you were doing before. How do you change that?
With like a deep breath and conscious action and a coach and a guide who helps you do that. Because it, like, confusion is not real. It's just that, like, cycling. So being able to say, if I can't get myself out of it, who can, and how quickly can I make that call to do that? And also at the same time, the more you get used to doing it, the easier it gets. Like, the more that you live your life that way, you build that neurology, it gets easier. It doesn't mean that that doesn't still show up. It just means that it doesn't show up the same way or with the same level of, like, I can recognize it. I'm like, oh, okay, like, here it is. It's
I always
this
think
time
of it
again. So,
like I always think of it like an athlete with recovery time. You know, it's just you can run that second sprint faster, you recover faster because you strengthen those muscles or neural pathways or whatever.
totally, yeah. And
So
just on the comparison piece too, like, when you look at life from a hero's journey perspective, we've all been at different parts of that journey. Like, everybody on this call knows when they were in the abyss and knows when they were in pain and trauma and trouble. And we have times when we were reaching out and asking for help. And just because we happen to be in the celebratory phase right now doesn't mean that we're not going to be called to another adventure next and be cycling through it. So really, like, comparison is kind of useless.
yeah, for
So you
sure.
need some perspective when it comes to comparison. And our book, we're happy to offer our book for free. You can actually just grab the digital copy at evolvednlpbook.com.
Awesome. Evolvednlpbook.com. NLP like you've never seen it before. It's not your grandfather's NLP, especially if your grandfather's an old white dude. They've got a whole different approach. So I'm excited for people to read your book. It's so powerful. All right, Mia, leave us on a good note. What is your
Absolutely.
advice? How do we make some more millionaires, happy entrepreneurs, world
Absolutely.
changers?
Absolutely. My best form of advice is stop framing problems as statements. Like, what happens is when we frame problems as statements, it tricks our brain into believing that it's a fact and that there is no solution. So it has us react, doing negative behaviors, making poor decisions, right? Instead, what you can do is just literally turn every problem into a question. Just ask yourself, how could I blank so that I could blank? Like, whatever that is, if you just phrase it as a question, now you've gotten your mind to work for you instead of against you, causing it to be a tool to really solve a problem and go on the rampage of that. I do also really believe people really need to heal their traumas. Like, it's really what set me free. It's the reason why I am really a master at it. It's really coming from, once we understand how to heal that and process our emotions. I've never met anyone that grew up in a family where it was okay to have emotions, to process your emotions. Like, it's amazing how and I want to simplify it and dumb it down. When we look at food, we would never think of consuming all this food and not peeing and pooping. We would literally know that that's toxic and that we could literally hurt ourselves. But emotions, emotion, that energy emotion, we're not taught how to actually process emotions, how to process our feelings so that we return to homeostasis and alignment. And I think that is the greatest gift anyone could ever give themselves or their children or anyone, is learn how to do that. Like, that is so vital. It's what I teach. It's what I coach. Because when you can learn how to do that and you know how to self-govern, the world is your playground. So the free book, what I'm going to give them is my free book. It's called, they can go to miameantformorebook.com. So miameantformorebook.com. Just put in the password free book and it'll give it to them for free.
I love it. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for doing that. So generous. We'll make sure everybody
Absolutely.
has the links. And I just want to really emphasize or echo that emotion energy and motion. It's so powerful. If you are feeling stuck, if like that freak out or anxiety feeling feels like stuck, that is you trying to talk to you, telling you you have to learn how to process these emotions. This is the opportunity. So it doesn't mean just pick another thing, like scour through a bunch of ideas for good. I keep seeing these webinars on like the recession proof business, or, you know, how to pivot your message. I could give you a list, and I'm sure, I don't know, Entrepreneur Magazine will give you this list, 101 businesses to start in a recession. You're going to be right where you are today if you don't do the work to align yourself, to process the emotion, all of the stuff that we've been talking about today, to be in a place to take action. If you feel like, well, I want to take action, but I don't know what to do. The deal is that's the calling. Do that. It might not feel like work to you, but that is the work. That's what you're being called to. And once you step into that, you're going to find your thing so much faster. So thank you guys so much for being here. All four of you are amazing authors, and you know the power of giving your books away. So I'm glad you all gave yours away. If you guys are looking to kickstart your business, to do that land grab, if you have a business idea and you're in alignment, or if you feel like you're close and what you really need is to start taking action, it's an amazing time to write a book, because there's this little window where you can grab that piece of the land, you get the book out, work with Emily, get your free book funnel, give those books away, and then lead people into your business. So if that sounds like you, my books are all free on the authorincubator.com/free books. You can take a look at all of my books on how to write a book. And if now is the time, if you want to be one of our Thriving Through the Chaos for the Next Pandemic case studies, not that any of us want another pandemic, head over to the authorincubator.com/apply. That's what these ladies did. That's how we ended up working with them on their books. And it is amazing, an amazing way to grow and leverage a business. So I'd love to hear about your book ideas. Again, thank you guys all for showing up, for serving. And of course, you would be rewarded with an amazing growing business. So thank you, congratulations. And here's to thriving through the chaos as more arrives. Ciao.